Okay, welcome guys. Today we're going to be doing a review on the latest tablet that you should pick up because it's fall 2014 and you might be in line for a tablet. Now, tablets are kind of a new thing. Well, they're newer than a smartphone. Original tablet that kind of changed the market was the original iPad, came out in 2010. And since then, everything's been shifting to tablets. If you've been noticing, at least I have, if you go to New York City or a big city or a major retailer, you're going to start noticing a lot of stores, bars, restaurants carrying iPads instead of full clunky registers that take up like a foot of space, or lots of feet of space. And you're gonna see this. You're gonna see this a lot in a lot of places that you visit, and at least I see that a lot in a lot of New York City bars and clubs. I actually see DJs now instead of laptops. Used to see DJs with MacBooks because you can easily see the Apple logo in the background because it's facing everybody dancing. But now I see them on iPads, and it's just kind of interesting to see how that kind of flipped. Anyway, and the reason, one thing that kind of mentioned by Steve Jobs years ago when he was talking about the post PC revolution, not PV, PC revolution, he was talking about we all use laptops or desktops as our primary communicative devices to surf the web, do stuff like that. But one thing he mentioned, I believe it was in All Things D, it was a conference that spans a number of years. He mentioned that everybody on a laptop is going to switch over to a tablet. And laptops will still be around and desktops will still be around, but they'll be for the pro user, people that do video editing, audio editing, graphics production, stuff like that need a lot more horsepower. For the rest of the 95% of people that check email, listen to music, look at photos, browse the web, stuff like that we all do on a daily basis, tablets are going to take care of that. And think about it, you're going from a 6-pound laptop to a half-a-pound tablet that can do everything that laptop can do for you. So, and I've been noticing this. In fact, I used to carry a laptop with me, and I got my first iPad, and ever since then, I never owned a laptop. Primarily because my iPad does everything I need it to do. And if I need to do photo editing, it can do that too. It has the power, actually, especially new iPads. But anyway, we're going to cover all the tablets in this video, and I'm going to recommend the one that I would recommend you to purchase. Now, this is going to be focused more on, I'm going to kind of angle it toward the strategy wargamer, because obviously you're visiting this website for a reason, because you have some strategy gaming needs. I'm going to fulfill them. And then we're going to see which platform is the best for you for your tablet wargaming needs. All right, so there's a lot of tablets out there. Obviously, the new iPad is out. And there are also other competitors. You have the Amazon Fire tablets, and a number of them, and they actually start at a really low price at $99. Then you have the Nexus tablet. If you're not familiar with the Nexus tablet, it's made by Google. It's not made by Samsung. The software is made by Google, and actually the hardware is designed and by Google itself. Then you have Galaxy Tab, which is the software is made by Google, edited a little bit by Samsung, and it's Samsung hardware. And you do have a lot of Samsung tablets. We're gonna spend a lot of time trying to go through them. Then you have other tablets like the Surface. I'm going to touch base on the Surface a little bit, and then last but not least, the really, really cheap tablets. So first, we're going to start out with the Amazon tablets. So Amazon makes tablets. Yes, they do. Believe it or not, even though this does not look like this software here, does not look anywhere near like this, they're actually the same thing. It's just Amazon skins it to the point where it doesn't look anything like that, but the behind the scenes actual system, the plumbing is still made by Google. So it's actually Android. The Amazon Fire tablets. They are cheap. You can get an Amazon Fire tablet for really, really like cheap. I mean, $99 you can get a 6-inch tablet. It has Wi-Fi and has even a camera on there. The question is, should you get it? My personal recommendation, if you want to do strategy wargaming on your tablet, I would not recommend this Fire tablets. Reason being is there's just not a lot of apps. When it really comes down to it, like in my last video about smartphones, everything comes down to apps. Are the apps that you want, strategy wargaming apps or whatever other apps you're looking for, on that platform? And Android has, if you watch my last video, has over 1 million apps in their marketplace. Unfortunately, because Amazon skins this so much, they don't allow those apps on here. Only Amazon approved apps go on their store here. So you're going from over 1 million apps to not that many. You probably, I think it's maybe around 100,000 or tens of thousands, but it's not anywhere near the amount of apps that you get on what the full Android marketplace is. So that's something to consider when purchasing this. Chances of you finding, for example, I'll give you a good example because this is one app that I cannot wait for it to hit the tablets, is Ultimate General Gettysburg. I love that game. I play hours of that game, and I actually doing a live action review series of that game. So it's really cool. They have no plans to put it on Amazon, as far as I know. And that's kind of like a deal breaker. Yeah, you can get an Amazon tablet for 99 bucks, but is it going to have what you want it to do? Chances, no. Majority of the apps that you need to do stuff is not going to be on this tablet. Now, this is a good media device. Like, you can put movies on here and TV shows, but you can only get it from the Amazon store. So if you're not an Amazon purchaser and you don't buy all your stuff on Amazon, you know, this is not a really optimal tablet for those kind of needs. Anyway, we're going to move on to the Nexus 9. As a new tablet, they just actually announced. I think they announced it like a week or so ago. It's still in pre-order. I think it's releasing this week, I believe. The last week of October, I believe. But the Nexus 9 is a pure Google, pure Android experience. What does that mean? Well, this is original. This is what Google makes. And this is what Samsung does with it. They completely redo the actual operating system. So it doesn't look anywhere near what they call stock Android looks like. The benefits of having stock Android is, remember, if you watched my last video, I was telling you about the Android Play Store. This icon right here has over 1 million apps. Unfortunately, each app has to be tailored for every single device. There are over 8,000 Android devices out there. So obviously, if I'm making, let's say, a strategy gaming app, I have to tailor that app for 8,000 devices. That's not going to happen. I'm telling you right now, no developer is going to tailor that app for 8,000 different screens, 8,000 different processors. Not going to happen. So what you come up with is you get an Android tablet like the Samsung Galaxy, where it can run maybe a quarter of the Android tablet apps that are out there. So instead of 1.3 million that you can only run maybe a 250,000. Still a lot, but it's shy of what you want. And let's say you're getting that strategy gaming app that you want, and all of a sudden stop playing right because it's not compatible with your Galaxy Tab. Chances are it'll be more likely to work on the Nexus tablet. Again, I don't think this is also going to have that problem. So 1.3 million apps, this will probably more or less run maybe half or less than half, somewhere around there. So you always have that problem with the Android tablets. You're always kind of doing a give and take. Well, is it optimized for my screen? Is it optimized for the Nexus? Is it optimized for the Galaxy Tab? And it becomes a real headache. A lot of apps won't function correctly 100%. They'll crash more often, and issues. Also, as I mentioned in my smartphone review, you do have malicious apps in here. So if you go to Play Store and you find, ooh, I found a really cool Civil War app. It's awesome, and I can command the armies of the Potomac and fight Lee. Well, the problem is that app, and there's 1 out of 4 Android apps. So out of 1.3 million apps in this Play Store, 1 out of 4 is malicious. They will access other applications, your notes, your contacts. They will do things not authorized by you. Now you get that Civil War app, and it might start doing funky things. That's a big problem. Google, who actually makes the Android operating system, does not review the apps. So if the guy who made that Civil War app put in code in there to take your notes, your contacts, and try to go into your banking app, they won't know about it until you report it. And chances are, if you're not a programmer and you don't know what to look for, you're not going to know it's even doing it. So you got to be really careful with that. We're going to move on. Galaxy Tabs. Now, this is going to give me a headache because Samsung's known for making like dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of tablets. I remember watching a tech podcast, I think it was This Week in Tech, and they were actually going through how many tablets that were made by Android, and I think they came out with over 40 or 50 different varieties of tablets. Let's see, view all. Maybe they, I don't know. It's over 46 different tablets. That's a lot. Yeah, it's quite a bit. And these just the Galaxy Tabs. I think they have the Galaxy Notes, and it's just a lot more. So it's more than 46. So yeah, it's a lot. Again, with the problem with the Galaxy Tabs are they're running Android, so you have that problem with the Android marketplace, which we just covered with the malicious apps. Honestly, I'm not a big Samsung fan. They use plastic on their devices. They charge a premium for the Samsung name. I honestly, it's not a good. I'm not very pro their products. I've had nothing but problems with with Samsung products in the past. Honestly, I would think the Nexus is a lot better tablet to get than the Samsung Tab, the Galaxy Tab. That's just my recommendation. I don't recommend this. It's going to even run slower than a Nexus tablet because it's running that a very what we call skinned version of Android, where they just put a lot of their own style on it. So when you look at a Samsung Galaxy Tab, it's going to look very different from this. The icons will look different, everything will look different, and that kind of makes the tablet run slower. So I don't recommend these. They're premium. You can get a Nexus tablet, actually will run faster and probably have more apps than a Galaxy Tab. That's my recommendation. I would not recommend that. The next thing, the next thing I'm gonna cover is budget tablets. They're out there. You can go into Walmart and you can pick up yourself a $40 Android tablet. It's running the same. Well, this is gonna be a skin version of the Nexus because even the $40 tablets run skin versions. I strongly don't recommend these whatsoever. In any case whatsoever, I don't recommend these. And the reason I don't recommend them is because they're extremely, and when I mean extremely, I mean they're very slow. Current tablets, Android tablets, run 4 core processors to kind of make it a smooth experience when you're using it, playing your games and stuff like that. These are running single core, 1 gigabyte memory. And on Android tablets, you really need to look at this. And I can tell you the reason why you don't need to look at this on an Apple tablet. It's a very different experience. But you need to look at these when you're looking at Android tablets. This is a very slow tablet. It's more or less going to probably break within that first year or first 6 months. You're going to get it. It's $40. You get what you're paying for. The ones that I've seen, they break very easily. They're slow as molasses. And remember how I was telling you the Nexus is probably going to get maybe 40 or maybe 50% of the 1.3 million apps on that Play Store. You'll be lucky if you run a single percentage of those apps on this on this tablet here. These are going to be incredibly slow. I don't recommend this. Save some money. Get a really get a tablet that is okay. Yeah, I mean, even if it's a dual core, 1 gigahertz, 8 gigabytes of memory storage, this is really bad here. A normal tablet should have at least 16. We're at the point where you can't fit anything on 8 gig, really. But avoid these. Please avoid them. I mean, if you want, if you want to kind of like buy this, and then this is what's going to happen. You're going to buy this $40 tablet, and you're going to like, oh, I got a $40 tablet. This is easy. And he's told me to save my money for a $400, $500 tablet. And then like in 3 days when the tablet stops working, or when you download your first app and this one's not working, you download your second app and that one's not working, you download 4th, 5th, 10th, 20th app, and it's like, man, none of these apps are working. Well, yeah, because you bought a $40 tablet. That's exactly what's happened. So avoid these, please. Do yourself a favor. The Surface. Microsoft makes their own tablet. Yes, they do. Now, right off the bat, I have to tell you, do not get the Surface 2. Avoid it. Like the plague, don't get the Surface 2. If you are considering a Microsoft tablet, only get the Surface Pro 3. Reason why I tell you this, and we're going to dive into this tablet. So Microsoft makes their own tablet. They make 2 different varieties. They make one that kind of runs an a mobile processor. This is a mobile processor. This is a desktop processor. It makes a big difference, and I'll tell you why. So every single app that's running on Windows, like Windows 7, Windows XP, cannot run on this 449 tablet. It cannot. It can only run, I believe, mobile Windows RT apps, and there's no apps basically available for Windows RT. It's a different platform. It looks like Windows, it smells like Windows, but it really is not going to work with your legacy apps. So if you are thinking, hey man, I'm going to get Hearts of Iron, because I thought of this actually. I'm going to get Hearts of Iron. I'm going to put her on this Surface 2 for $449. I can play Hearts of Iron on the go. It's not going to happen. Don't even think about it. It won't even install. It will possibly run on the Windows 8 1.1 Pro. So you have to spend that to get that kind of Hearts of Iron or Victoria or whatever strategy wargaming game you're going to play on that tablet. Problem is, it is $800. Microsoft went for now a 12-inch tablet, which is really not a tablet. These are kind of like a hybrid between a tablet and a laptop. The reviews that I saw online, they're not, how do I say, good. The reason why they're not that great is because it's a 12-inch tablet. You're kind of at the border already of what... let me see if I can go back here. Okay, whoop, I went too far. You're kind of already at the border of, this is almost the point where it's a laptop. It's too big for me to kind of walk and use it. You kind of sit down, and it has this nice kickstand where you can utilize it. And put it on your lap and actually play it, but it's not mobile. Like for example, I have an iPad Air, and I can actually use this iPad on the go. I can walk and actually press it and actually feel fluid enough and holding it in my hands without feeling like it's gonna fall. With a 12-inch tablet, you're kind of reaching that point where it's like, all right, I need to sit down because I got to use this tablet. So you're kind of losing a little bit of mobility there. Another thing is, let's see if I can go into it. It's an $800 tablet. There we go. It can run your legacy app, so you can play Heart to Iron. I haven't seen. I've been trying to find YouTube videos actually on it. I think, and I've been able to do that, um, but it would be really cool because you can actually run like strategy wargaming apps. A couple cool HPS titles I'm thinking of, The Proud and a Few, um, would be able to run, I believe, on this device because it's the full Windows. Problem is, it's that hybrid, and it's honestly, I really can't really recommend it, based upon it's too big. I think a tablet should be really portable. If they made the Pro maybe closer to 500 and maybe in an 8-inch size, that would be good. Now the problem is you're still going to get viruses on this. Yes. So don't think you're getting this and you're going to weasel your way out of viruses and malware and all. You're still going to get infected. It's a Windows experience, and unfortunately, I've used Windows for 20 plus years, and I can tell you, I hate Windows. I think it's one of the most not good. I keep it vanilla here. Not good operating systems there. I use a Mac, but honestly, if Mac didn't exist, I would go to Linux or Ubuntu or Red Hat or something like that, then use Windows as my primary operating system. That's because it's just the registry system. It's just so many problems with Windows, and if you've used Windows in the past, you know what I'm talking about. Also, I remember reading a review by. Well, I'm gonna get it for you, just so this way I can. You guys can believe me. It's a reviewer that I follow, and her name is Erica Griffin. She's actually on YouTube, and she's a really good tech reviewer, and she reviewed the Surface. And she had a lot of pro things, but her biggest negative, which actually turned her away from actually using this as her daily tablet, is she was trying to watch Netflix movies on here, and she said the colors weren't right, especially when like the environment was black. If they're in shadows and stuff like that, everything just looks really not well. And she was a big Netflix watcher, so it provided a really bad Netflix experience when you're watching movies. And if you go to her channel, Erica Griffin, you'll actually can see it there. And she was talking about how the blacks didn't look right, and the videos weren't produced in good quality. So that was her deciding factor of not going with this. But honestly, it would be really cool to play some of those war games like Heart to Iron on the go. But at 12 inches, plus you have to deal with viruses and registry issues, it just provides more of a headache than I want to deal with. But yeah. So who's left? Apple is left. As I told you, I do have the iPad Air. I have the 1. I don't have the 2. Hopefully getting the 2, the Air 2, soon. But the reason I recommend the Apple iPad Air 2 as my official tablet for recommendation is for a couple reasons. One is Apple sets the bar of where a tablet is going to be. They were tablets before the original iPad in 2010. Apple changed the industry because they made a tablet easy to use that everyday people can say, hey, I don't have to spend a week or 5 weeks learning how to use this thing. It takes me 15 minutes. I know how to use this thing. It's easy. So that kind of changed the industry. But the reason why I recommend the iPad Air 2 is they have the largest app store. And developers make their apps first for Apple than they do before any other platform. So for example, a good example would that be is Ultimate General Gettysburg, the guys who developed that game, are making it for iOS as I speak. They're actually making it right now for the iOS system. Wars and Battles, which are making a whole bunch of, I'm actually talking to them right now. They're actually launching their app, Wars and Battles, which would involve Korean War, World War II, and I believe the Battle of Gettysburg and numerous other battles and wars that you can play hex style on the iPad. they're launching it on the iPad. I haven't heard of any news that they're launching it for Android, but generally every developer that makes a war game makes it first for the iPad and iOS, primarily because it's an easier platform to develop for, because Apple sets sets up the system in a way that when you make your game for one iPad, they'll pretty much work on every single iPad, unless there was some kind of feature that it doesn't enable it. There's some strategy wargaming apps that work on the original iPad released in 2010. I've been playing, I believe, Shenandoah Studios released Battle of the Bulge. It still plays on my original iPad, which is awesome. I think that's awesome. Because that tablet's 4 years old. It's very old, but it still runs it, which is pretty sick. So these apps will run on the iPad first before any other platform, if it ever gets to another platform. They'll have the largest amount of apps too. So for example, remember I was telling you about the Nexus. It can run maybe a quarter, maybe 40% of the apps that are on the Play Store. This is going to run basically 100% of the apps on the App Store, and the iOS App Store has, I think, 1.3, 1.4 million apps, and it's going to basically run all of them. That's right, all of them. So you have larger selection there. So that's pretty sick. Apple makes a high quality display. They were the first ones to actually make what they call a Retina display, which is basically double the quality of your TV. This has an 8, I'm going to have to say this correctly, I always screw this up, an A8X chip. Okay, I got it, yes, awesome. Basically what that means is this chip will allow you to run desktop level games. So Paradox Interactive is working on making Hearts of Iron for the iPad. And you're going to be able to play it at full HD quality on the iPad Air 2. You could probably run it on maybe an iPad 2, maybe an iPad 3. It'll probably be on a lower resolution. You won't see, the graphics as stunning and as realistic as the iPad Air 2, but it'll work. But this will be cool because I love Hearts of Iron. I would love to play it on this tablet with a Retina display, and it's just going to look beautiful. It comes with Touch ID. This is a huge thing. This is going to come in handy for the holiday season. If you want to buy something on Amazon or through an online website and you're saying, oh man, I got to put my credit card in, you can put your credit card on your iPad. Now, if you don't know what Apple Pay is and you're like, credit card, iPad, I'm not putting my credit card on anything. Yes, you can put your credit card on your iPad or your iPhone and it's secure. Much more secure than you buying stuff with your credit card online. The reason why is when you put your credit card on your iPad, it doesn't leave the iPad. You can go to Amazon, and when you buy something off the internet, instead of you sending your credit card number over the internet and somebody grabbing it and saying, oh, I got his credit card, yay, the iPad only sends an approval code. So if you put your credit card on here, it never leaves the iPad, and it secures every purchase you do, so you never have to worry about having that fraudulent activity happening or somebody stealing your credit card, which comes in extremely handy. Has Touch ID, so the fingerprint sensor here. Again, this does not leave your fingerprint. It's not going to go to CIA. It never leaves the iPad. It'll give you a couple of cool things. Apple's Touch ID sensor is renowned as the industry as the best fingerprint sensor in the industry. And as Leo Laporte says, he's one of the top tech editors in the industry. Apple's a privacy company, so you don't have to worry about this leaving the iPad. Apple makes sure it locks down your information and never has access to it. Now, the Touch ID sensor, what this is going to do, it's going to allow you to do those purchases online, but it's also going to allow you to do, if you go, for example, to your Facebook app, or let's say your App Store to get an app, or you want to buy a 99-cent song off iTunes, instead of you remember your passwords, it's going to remember it for you. You just use your finger and it puts in the password for you. This is going to come extremely handy because, like me, I forget all my passwords. I have about 130 passwords. I have to constantly look for them every time I go in. This As you can see, use Touch ID for Evernote instead of typing your Evernote password. It just does it for you, much more simpler. Or if you're getting a movie, I purchased a lot of movies on my iPhone, and iPhone has Touch ID. I put my finger there instead of typing that long password. So that's huge. Cameras. Apple is known for having the best cameras on their iPhone. They just upgraded this to an all-new sensor. From the initial reviews that I've seen, it's really good. It's incredibly good. Now the thing is, you're not really supposed to use your tablet as a camera. If you talk to a lot of tech columnists or just everyday people, I mean, people are out there, they use their tablet as a camera. You're really not supposed to. It looks kind of odd, okay? And the reason why the smartphone works as a point-and-shoot camera replacement is because it's about the size of a point-and-shoot camera. You know, you're just, it looks like basically the same exact size. When you have a 10-inch tablet and you're trying to take a picture, guess what? You're blocking somebody behind you that can't see because it's a 10-inch tablet in their way, And it looks odd. The reason Apple puts it here is because to satisfy those group of people that do take pictures on their tablet. I can tell you on my iPad Air that I have in front of me, I rarely take photos. I only do it in emergency type of situations. Sometimes photographers use it as a viewfinder. They can hook up their DSLR cameras to it, and you can get the full screen. But if you don't have a smartphone, I guess this will basically cover it. So maybe that's another good option to have. But I always recommend using a smartphone as your main camera. Please don't put your 10-inch tablet in front of me, especially if we're at a concert and I can't see the band. Yes, there are people that do that. Apple has FaceTime, easier way than Skyping. I told you about the apps. Apple has the most tablet apps. And let's go to, and Apple has a lot of different varieties of iPads. So there's basically two new iPads. There's the iPad Air 2 that came out this year and the iPad Mini 3. So it's very easy to kind of like find out which one you want. You can go with the iPad Air 2 or the iPad Mini 3 and feel which one's right for you. Now, they do have last year's iPad Air, which is the one I have, and then last year's iPad Mini 2, and the year before that, the iPad Mini, for people that are on a budget and can't spend $399, $299 is in my budget, or people that really can't even do that, can do $249 for iPad Mini first gen. I do recommend getting the latest. The reason why I recommend getting the latest is they will last you a long time. iPad Air 2 is going to last you most likely. The power behind this tablet is incredible. It's a 3-core processor. The benchmarks that I've seen on this, it's going to last you most likely probably 5, maybe 6 years before you start noticing slowdowns and lag. 5 to 6 years. You can't get that out of a laptop nowadays, unless it's a Apple laptop. I've been noticing my iMac and my and Apple laptops lasting a lot longer than my Windows laptops and Windows desktops have. But anyway, that's a different video. Now, the reason I'm not going to go into specs about Apple so much as I do with Android is because this operating system, no matter which one you get, is going to be it's going to be smooth. It's going to be a very smooth experience, at least for a few years. And the reason why I tell you this is because Android is not an optimized operating system. What I mean by optimized is Google makes the software. Samsung then adds a skin. Remember that skin I told you where they add, extra stuff. They add different wallpaper, and they change the way the look and feel. They change the way the icons look, and makes it even slower. Then on top of that, each Android tablet has different hardware from literally thousands of different manufacturers, tons of different screen resolutions, different screen sizes, and the Android software has to accommodate all these different processors. There's hundreds of thousands of them. It has to accommodate all these different screen sizes. The Android software has to accommodate all these different memory types, and it just goes on and on. So the more stuff you put on here, the more lag it gets, and it's so there's so many different varieties out there. Like I said, there's over 8,000 different varieties of Android devices, different tablets and such. Um, that it slows down the way the operating system works because it just doesn't optimize as quickly. And if you want a kind of good analogy of this, is imagine your Mercedes, right? And you build a frame of car, but instead of using your own engine, you decided to go to Nissan to get their engine, and you decided to go to BMW. I'm sorry, your Mercedes. You're making a car. You go to Nissan for your engine. You go to BMW for their tires. You go to a different another car manufacturer like Volkswagen to get their electronic system, and you put it all in one car. Is that car going to run well? No, it's not. It's going to break down probably very quickly because it's not designed to do that. And that's the best analogy I can give you for that. So you're going to have that problem with Android, and Android requires a lot more horsepower to run because of this. There's no optimization, so you have to have a lot of horsepower. Like this is a 4-core processor with I think 2 to 3 gigs of RAM. You need it to deal with all those different processors and stuff like that, and because of no optimization. You don't want to go with something like this that has a 1.1 gigahertz processor and 4 gigabytes of storage and 1 gigabyte of memory, because it's just going to be slow out of the gate the moment you buy it. So anyway, that explains that. That optimization really makes a difference. That's why Apple's iPad Air that has a dual-core, 2-core processor can beat out Android tablets that have, like these Galaxy Tabs that have 4-core processors. That's right, a 2-core processor can beat out a 4-core processor in terms of how much horsepower it can provide. That is what optimization does. And the reason Apple has that is because Apple designs the software behind here, and Apple designs the hardware, so it can max out every bit of horsepower coming out of that engine. Because there's only 2 iPads, or the iPad Air or the iPad Mini 2. It knows exactly what's on the actual inside the engine. It can maximize as much as it can, and it's probably the best. It's not the best analogy, but it's the best I can give you. So anyway, if you get the more recent tablets, the longer your iPad's gonna last. Now the iPad Air 2 versus the iPad Mini 3. This has an A7 processor. This has an 8. I'm going to mess this up. An A8X chip. There we go. I got it. So this is probably going to give you 5 to maybe, possibly even 6, maybe even 7 years of life before you notice starting to slow down or lag a little bit. This one probably around 3 to 5 years because the processor on here is a lot more powerful than this one here. But 3 to 5 years is a long time. I have the A7 processor on my iPad Air, which is the same one as these two guys here. The iPad Air and the iPad Mini 3 have the same processor, and my experience is fluid. Now the iPad is only a year old, but I'm over a year old, but it's running like a champ, smooth as silk, basically. But more. If you get the iPad Air 2, you'll get a couple more years out of it before you have to start considering a newer tablet. The iPad Air 2 will have a better display than the iPad Mini 3. The colors will look a lot better. The screen's gonna just stand out a little bit more. It also has anti-reflective coating, which comes in nice, especially if you're out in the sun. I told you about the thing there. Oh, this is a big thing. The iPad Air 2 also has wireless AC. What does this mean? Well, the iPad Air 2 is going to allow you to get faster download rates. Everything from here, the iPad Air all the way to the Mini, is going to have wireless N technology, which basically means if I'm downloading Die Hard on all these tablets and it's going to take me 60 minutes, on this guy it's probably going to take me about 20, maybe 30. Yes, that's right, about half the time. So that comes in handy when you download a lot, like I did. Well, most of the time I do. Um, Touch ID sensor. These are the only two ones that come with a Touch ID sensor. The iPad Air 2 and the Mini 3 come with Touch ID sensors. So they'll come with Apple Pay, which I told you about, and then Touch ID so you can unlock instead of using the password for every single app that you use. But regardless, whatever iPad you get, you're going to get a good experience. You're going to be able to play Battle of the Bulge on this, and you're going to be playing it on this. It's basically going to be a very smooth experience. Other cool things, I can see, why not the Ultimate General is pretty much going to play on all of them. I can't see a reason why it won't play on a Mini. And in fact, I remember reading or watching a video where, actually it was a podcast, where they were talking about how Apple doesn't allow developers to, to fault out, to kind of like knock out an iPad. So what I mean by this is, I'm struggling to get words out, but bear with me. So for example, let's say you're you're the guys behind Ultimate General Gettysburg, and you want to put your app on the iPad. Well, Apple doesn't allow them to say, all right, well, if you just want to put it on the iPad Air 2, we're going to let you. Apple does not allow that. If you're going to put it on the iPad, it has to work on pretty much all the iPads. And the developer has to configure it so it can run on the Mini and it can run on the iPad Air 2. So that's a really cool thing Apple does. A lot of developers are like, well, this is not cool. I wanted it to run only on the iPad Air 2. So the developer's not happy, but you as a consumer who just spent $249 still can play that game, which is cool. So it's good for the consumer because whatever game, like let's say HPS comes out with, they're Proud in a Few, or John Tiller just released a bunch of his games, they have to run on pretty much all the iPads, and I love that. Now the only other difference would be is like for example, all these iPads run iOS 8. The iPad 1, which is not here anymore, obviously that's not going to be Ultimate General Gettysburg is not going to run on that because the operating system has stopped with updates and it's already on iOS 5. So as long as your iPad can get the latest updates, you're good. Any apps that come out on the iPad will be on your iPad. So that's awesome. That's a big plus for developers. I mean for consumers, not developers. But that's basically it, guys. My personal recommendation, the iPad Air 2. It's light, has the best resolution screen for the tablet, and you're going to get your apps. And that's what it really comes down to, apps. When I want a tablet that's going to be able to play Hearts of Iron, Victoria, John Tiller's games, Ultimate General Gettysburg. I want a tablet to do all of that. They're actually developing them right now for this iPad. Wars and Battles is coming out next month. Shenandoah Studios' Gettysburg game is coming out this year, probably either November or December. And Paradox told me that their Hearts of Iron series is being developed for the iPad, so it's awesome. You can't get that on the Amazon tablets, or the Nexus tablets, or the Samsung Galaxy tablets, or these budget $40 tablets. Don't even think about playing that on there. And unfortunately, you can get a Surface Pro 3 and run those games on here too. Yeah, but again, the screen is not the best. On top of which, it's a 12-inch tablet and it's $800. It's something I don't recommend. And you deal with Windows where you have to deal with viruses. And oh my gosh, I don't even want to get into that. I hate Windows. And they're changing everything. Windows 10, they just announced, if you got used to this Windows 8 Metro style, it's changing. It's going back to the way it used to be. So it's just, they can't kind of make up their mind. But anyway, enough ranting about Microsoft. So that's it for this video, guys. I will do a video next on desktops. And I'm going to cover the Windows desktops. I'll cover the Mac desktops and laptops. And we'll even see if I can even cover some Linux tablets, desktops, and laptops. So that does it for this video, guys. I will see you in the next one. See you then.